Hey guys, it's Abby and welcome back to the channel. For today, we're going to be doing a stationery favorites video, but for fountain pens. So previously I did a stationery favorites video for journaling with mitts of My Life Mitts, which was great because a lot of you guys seem to like it. And now I'm doing a collab with another book contributor from the Art of the Travel Journal and also my good friend. We call each other cousins, but actually he's my Capricorn bestie, Job of Job's Journal. So make sure to check out his video. I will link it down below as well to see his favorites. But for now, I'm going to be sharing my favorites and I've divided the video into three. So we have fountain pens, inks, and accessories, and all the timestamps will be down below. So if you want to check it out, I do hope you stick around. As usual, my stationery favorites videos are always pretty meaty because I like walking you through every single product that I recommend. I do hope you check it out as well. Maybe it could add some context into some of the things that you've been eyeing on and you want to know like what I think about it. So hopefully that helps you out. But before we begin, I have a lot of updates from my side of the world. So first things first, on Patreon, as of end of October, we reached 300 plus patrons, which is super cool. Thank you so much to everyone who has supported me in any way through Patreon, to YouTube, wherever. And I really appreciate it. So actually, since we have the 300 goal covered, we're doing a live stream sometime in November. So if you want to join that, make sure to head to patreon.com/abbyc to be part of it. And apart from that, I also announced my new goal, which is the 500 patron goal, which feels like such a long shot, but I finally decided to declare my goal, which is to find a studio in Berlin and to be able to create a place for me to film videos, to organize my content, to share with you how I set up my stationery area. So it feels like a long shot, but I hope to find my own place next year, and one of the rooms or maybe the living room could be the filming area, because as of this room that I'm currently in, I literally have a table where I film everything. That's it. And it's kind of lacking in space, and it's by the bed, so it's quite a lot, and moving to Berlin hasn't been the easiest, so I would need your help in creating and finding a studio. So that will be the next goal. So if you'd like to support me on this next endeavor, it would be lovely if you can check out my Patreon. However, I also have some YouTube announcements if you're not super keen into going to Patreon, but I do recommend going to Patreon because I have a lot of exclusive content there. But for YouTube, I'm actually working on a YouTube memberships also, maybe next month, but I'm really excited to put that out because I know some of you would like to support me directly on YouTube for the videos I create. So that avenue would be great for people who just want to be on YouTube. So more on that next time. But for now, just a quick update. If you look below this video, there are like a series of icons like save, share, and whatever. And then there's this like heart-shaped one that says thanks. So a few weeks ago, I got a donation from the thanks button. So that was pretty cool, and I found out that you can actually do that. So if you'd like to tip me, for example, if you found the video interesting, you can actually click on the thanks button and choose the amount you want to donate, and it goes directly to supporting me, this channel, and also for the future studio that I'm going to build and organize for filming. So that would be lovely. Creating videos honestly was never the dream job that I had, but I don't know, I find it so fun right now. Like, I love editing videos for you guys and also creating content and sharing what I know about these things. So either way, supporting me just by watching this video is more than enough. Or if you've gotten a copy of my new book, The Art of the Travel Journal, I really appreciate it as well. So let's get started. So as I mentioned earlier, everything will be linked in the description. as well as the timestamps because this can be quite a handful. And we're going to be starting with fountain pens. So I have all of the things I need here. I also have water. We're gonna do some ink swatches in a bit as well because I really wanted to show you some of the inks that I currently love. First, we're gonna get into fountain pens. I have a handful of pens that I've been using regularly, but this year actually I got a couple more pens. My whole process with like collecting fountain pens has been like, if I sell something, I'm gonna get something in return. So I think so far I have been quite diligent in that department. But here are my top, I actually have 4 here. Top 4 recommended pens and the ones that I really used a lot this year. So I'm gonna take them out first so we can have a closer look at every single pen that I recommend in this video. So actually I have a very recurring pattern for my fountain pens. If you want to check out more about my fountain pens, I do have videos about it previously. Obviously I have to make an updated version. First on the pen lineup, this is a Sailor Manyo Pro Gear Slim in the color Nuts. So it actually has a nice sage color with some gold trims and transparent like yellowish orange accents. And actually the finial has a nut icon, if you can see here, which is really cool. And this was a limited edition release sometime in the summer of 2022. I was actually in San Francisco and I decided to get myself a pen. So this one is in the medium fine nib and it has a 14 karat nib and I really like it. It's currently inked with Sailor Miruai, which I'll show you in a bit. And I love that the color is something very timeless. And I was actually looking for the right limited edition pen for me and I found this and I was so happy about it. So I just want to show you the mechanism inside. So it is a converter system, as you can see here. And I like that this also isn't so heavy and it's really nice to take around. I try to use this as much as I can for writing, especially on my diary. And it's very lightweight. It's also really nice. Sailor pens can be a bit expensive, but I think having a limited edition one is such a treat, especially if you find something that you really like. Like in my case, this was something that I really love and I'm so happy I decided to get it. The second pen is obviously not a stranger to this channel. You've probably seen this in most of my videos. This is my Grail pen. It still is my all-time favorite. This is the Pilot Custom 823 in amber with the fine nib. So I tried to ink the same ink inside this pen just because it's a vac filler. So the vac filler mechanism is basically that this entire body is where the ink is located, and actually you have to twist the top part and like plunge it in to get the ink out and in and to wash it. So I just use the same ink all the time, which is Pilot Irishizuku Tsukushi, but currently as an exception because it's the fall season, I inked a Tatsuya Ukiyo-e Benitsuchi, which is a nice like reddish orange brown. Reddish brown actually, so that's what's currently inked here. That's why you can see that it's a bit red because the body is very much amber. It's a bit transparent, and I always say this pen reminds me so much of like Taylor Swift's Folklore era, and this is also something I say like this is actually me in a pen. So this has quite a weight to it compared to the Sailor Pro Gear Slim, but honestly I kind of got used to it. It's also relatively taller than my other pens. And this has always been my go-to pen. It's just, it has a nice grip to it. Did you also know that Neil Gaiman has the same pen? So every time I write in this, I feel like I'm such a main character slash I feel like I'm in my writer phase, so I really like it. And as you can see, it's pretty obvious. I really have a thing for gold trims. Most of my pens are actually gold trims right now, and I really love them. Next up, we have this cutie. This is the Kaweco Student in 70s Soul. So in my previous fountain pen videos, you've probably seen the brown one, which is the 20s Jazz, but it's currently parked right now because I accidentally dropped the pen and the nib is not doing well. So I also have this one. This was actually gifted to me by Ellen. Thank you so much, Ellen. It's still the same pen. It just has a different cap, which is like this like orange color, and I like that this pen is kind of very like it reminds me of creamsicle for some reason. It's like oranges and cream and peaches and cream. And I've been into the 70s lately because I've been reading a lot about the 70s and listening to Fleetwood Mac. So this pen is an extra fine, and actually we're going into the German brands right now. So we have Kaweco and the next one is Lamy. So this one is an EF nib. And for German pens, I really prefer thinner like nibs because they can write a bit thicker relatively than Japanese pens. So I really like the look of this. Apart from that, for me, not just looks but the functionality of pens are very important. So honestly, this one is also quite good in the wallet in terms of pricing. So this one is like 50 euros compared to these two other pens which are like above 100. So this is like 54 or something, which is pretty good, and it has a weight to it. So I really like taking this around, especially when I'm traveling, because it's just so easy to bring around, and it also has a converter mechanism. So it's pretty much the same with the Sailor one. So I have a Diamine Autumn Oak ink here, which I'll show you in a bit. So as usual, it also has a gold trim, which I really love, and that's something that I try to make cohesive into my pen collection. Last but not the least, this is the most entry-level pen that I have, and honestly, I feel like I've graduated from Lamy's already, but when this limited edition color came out early this year, I think like spring, I decided to get one because it's just so pretty. And I feel like I'm in my neutral era phase. Like this year I really got into neutrals. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I really like that this is like a nice cream color. So this is the Lamy Safari in cream. It's a 2022 edition. The other color was actually red. And this one also comes in extra fine. So I have an extra fine nib for this. And it's super lightweight, and what I like about Lamy pens is if you're a beginner and you're still getting used to like the grip of fountain pens, this one has an ergonomic grip, and Germans are really good at prioritizing functionality. So actually if you use a Lamy, it's pretty easy to get used to fountain pens. Also, fun fact, my first pen was actually a Lamy. So this one is also a converter mechanism, and I have a green ink put in here at the moment. It's very lightweight. It's something I like to put in my pen case when I'm traveling, and I also like that it has this really big, how do you call this, like thing where you put their pens in, like file it in like your notebook or like put it in a pen loop, and I think it's really super functional. So yeah, this is a very entry-level fountain pen. It costs around 20 euros and it's pretty good. It does the job, and I decided to add it here because it is going to be my all-time favorite, because it's the first fountain pen brand that I ever owned when I started. Next up, let's talk about inks. Now, I personally have a very specific type of ink that I'm looking for, and there's certain properties that really appeal to me, and primarily it's always the wet flow, because I like it when you're writing and ink just glides smoothly on the pen, and usually this is achieved by having like more of a watery consistency, which is most of the pen inks that I have. And I'm gonna show you 4 of my favorites and recent discoveries from this year. First up, we have this beautifully designed box over here. So this is a Japanese brand. It's called Teranishi, but the ink name is actually called Taisho Guitar. So if you take a look at the brand, if you take a look, like the logo actually has like a musical note on there. And I like that the ink bottles are also super nice, and ink boxes. So this shade is Opera Rose. And fun fact, I randomly saw this in Moranga, which is a stationery store I usually go to. It's my current favorite here in Berlin. And I saw it and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so nice. So I decided to get the Opera Rose one. So this is the bottle. For your reference, it's a Japanese brand, by the way, and this is a swatch of the ink, which is great because it's part of the packaging. So I swatched it there for reference. But this is the bottle. It's 40 ml, and it has a guitar gold star written on top. So the reason why I got this ink was because I liked that it wasn't so much of a pink shade, and it falls under like pinkish brown colorway, and I like that it's kind of subtle. It's not also so loud, because I'm really particular because I like inks that are not so bright and usable for every day. So as you can see here, it does come off as like reddish with hints of pink, but not like pink. You'd think like Opera Rose would be super pink, but actually this one is not. And I really like this. I really want to try the other colors, but I fear that they're kind of similar to the ones I already own, so I decided to get Opera Rose. Next one comes a bit close to Taisho in general, Taisho Guitar, because the box size is actually the same, which is great because I stack them together and display them on my desk shelf. So this one is a Tasha ukiyo-e series, and it's the shade Benitsuchi. Fun fact, I used to have the Tasha ukiyo-e Sabimidori, which was the fan favorite for a long time because it was blue and it was green, and I figured that at the end of the day I don't really use a lot of blue ink, so I decided to sell mine. And part of the reason I wanted to get this also is, honestly, the packaging is like gorgeous. I'm a huge Hokusai fan. I love ukiyo-e design. This just hits close to home, so I decided to get one. I got this from Papier und Stift. It's an online shop in Germany, and they have a lot of the Japanese inks, which was great. So the size is also pretty much the same, and the bottle design is very sleek. It's a very typical Japanese design. It's not so over the top, but it does the job. I also like this cap where it has the color on it. So in case you have a lot of different Tatcha inks together, at least you have the label here and don't have to label it separately. I just feel a bit OC that it's not in the middle, but okay, that's not what we're here for. So this one, as I mentioned, is inked on the Pilot Custom 823 that I showed you earlier, and I wanted to put it side by side with the Taisho Guitar Opera Rose so you can distinctively see the difference. But this one tends to be more of a reddish brown colorway, and this one I think is the perfect fall shade. So as you can see here, it comes off darker as well, and it's more on the red side, and I really like it because usually I would go for a basic brown, but this one just adds a subtle notch into more of a reddish brown, and that's what I'm always going for when it comes to looking for fall inks in general. So this one also has a wet flow. That's why I decided to load it on my Pilot Custom 823. I mostly load wet inks because as I mentioned, I like the smooth writing experience. For those kinds of inks, I've tried a lot of inks and I just find that it works so well for what I'm looking for when it comes to writing with fountain pens. Next up, we have this one. Actually, this one came with the Sailor Manyo Pro Gear Slim that I showed you earlier. This is the Sailor Manyo ink in the color Shirakashi. So I've been eyeing this ink for a while because I think last year my friend Kara had the same ink, and she told me it resembled a bit of some of the Pilot inks, so I decided to not get a sample from her at the time. However, when I did my research, I ended up really liking this ink because at first glance it may feel like kind of it's a dark green, but also it lends to some sort of like, I don't really know how to explain the color. It's like green, but it's brown, and it's very subtle. And I like using this for any journal spread that has like nature-inspired colors. So as you can see, it's a very everyday ink. There are shades of brown, there are shades of green, but the green is pretty subtle. Like when you see it from afar, it doesn't seem so obvious. I actually think it has more green when you swatch it on Tomoe River paper because I'm using MD paper, which is what I always use for fountain pen writing these days. But yeah, I really like this. It's very subtle. It's one of those inks that I don't really think about, but it does the job. So it's forever in my favorites list at the moment. And lastly, I'm going for a budget-friendly route because the ones I showed you earlier can be a bit on the expensive side. But for my favorite autumn ink, of course, I have to go for Diamine Autumn Oak. So when I first got into fountain pens, this was one of the first inks that I bought, and I was very pleased with the colors because it kind of has a, I don't know, it's like it has a color changing property, and it does really remind me of autumn. Like when you put it first on paper, it looks orangey, but then when you swatch it out, it has like some specks of yellow and brown, and I think that just like reminds me of colors of the leaves changing, and I really like that. And you know, Diamine is really budget friendly and it's great for starters. So as you can see here, I really like the effect that it has. So sometimes it tends to be orangey and it becomes brown, but yeah, generally I really like this this color. So these are my 4 favorite fountain pen inks at the moment. Of course, they have an autumnal color scheme for obvious reasons. Now on to the accessories part. So these are some of the things that I really love using in conjunction with my fountain pens and inks. So first up, I've always been on a hunt for a good pen case, and I'm always up for discovering new pen cases that I might find more geared towards what I want out of a pen case, and I think this one does the job. So, oh, that was a pun intended, because this pen case, this rickshaw 3 pen case with the Starry Night design by Van Gogh, this was actually given to me by Job of Job's Journal. Thanks, Job. So he actually got me a case, and he also has one, so we're basically twinning at this point. So the first time I've heard of rickshaw was from the Goulet Pens YouTube channel, and I've always been curious about it. And I found out when I was in San Francisco that it was actually made in San Francisco, and I now get the appeal. I wish you could feel it, but basically it's like your pens are on a spa, because look at how furry and comfortable that is. Well, that's my first favorite reason why I like this case. And second, it's really compact. I feel like my pens are super protected, so I can also just shoot it in my bag and it does the job. When I travel, I usually bring this because I can house 3 pens and it doesn't feel as bulky. Although this is not my colorway because I don't really have a lot of blues, I think this is an exception because I love Van Gogh, and this is really a lovely, very ergonomic design. And also, yeah, sometimes if I just get this, I just feel the fur inside. It's just so soft. I wish you could feel it, but it's really great. It does the job, and it's my favorite pen case at the moment. The second one is my personal opinion only. I personally find that the Traveler's Notebook, or like the Midori MD paper, is my favorite paper for swatching fountain pens and for using fountain pen inks for. So I currently have an MD paper notebook blank A6 housed in this Baumkuchen Mojave cover, and I actually am in the process of swatching inks. So here's a little peek at it. So I've been swatching the inks that I have in my stash, and I wanted to create profiles for it. And you'll see that the properties actually come out on this paper as well. For some reason, it's just my favorite compared to Tomoe River because of the cream color. That's one thing. The second is, I don't know, it's just more accessible for me to use MD paper. I've been using Traveler's Notebooks for my journals as well and for traveling. So all of the journal pages where I use fountain pens for writing and for journaling is basically MD paper. So I figured, you know, it just makes sense to have it and to use this. So all of my refills and all of the notebooks I have are MD paper, except for planning because I still use Hobonichi for my planners. So I really like it. I highly recommend trying it out. It's also a bit more budget friendly than Tomoe River paper, so I personally recommend it. The third one is actually something new that I got back home in the Philippines, and actually I have to clean it because I spilled a bit of ink on it. So this is actually a pen and ink holder, pen and vial holder rather. So this is from Wood PH, and I know of Wood PH from Uni because she's Uni's cousin, and actually before we collabed on a couple of things together, including this wooden calendar that I designed. So hopefully we'll put it back up soon. But they gifted me this pen and vial holder, and I really like it. I actually already have the samples holder where it just holds all ink samples. So if you have vials like this, they come in handy. But I like this because it's currently housed on my desk, and it just feels like, you know, your pen has a home like this. And I like that it's long enough that it fits like the custom and other larger pens. So I currently have some inks here that I got from my friend, and it's just nice to have them there. So I feel like I'm working on them or like experimenting with them. It's nice to have them there for display purposes. Plus points if the vial covers are the same one, so it's very uniform. So I also like the light wood finish of this. And yeah, it's not also so bulky, so you could just put it right by your desk and pick up the pen and start writing. So I really like this. Now, the last thing, which I was very much late into the game with, is actually a glass dip pen. So I know there's like a lot of debate about the glass dip pen because honestly, if you dip this in ink, the concentration of ink that comes out, I feel, doesn't really represent fountain pens in general because it varies by nib size, by thickness, and the ink properties. But it's just so convenient to use. So I use the thin part here for writing, and then at the back, I just dip it on the ink, and then I do my, you know, my swatching. Also, I know I am very clumsy in general as a person, so I decided to just buy this off of Amazon because I'm a cheapskate like that. And this was only like 8 euros, and I feel like it does the job. I don't think I can afford buying a really expensive one only to see it fall on the floor and break, knowing that's something I would do. So yeah, I really like this. I think it's very much a tool you should have in your arsenal of fountain pens and inks and accessories. Also, I feel like I'm such a pro when I'm glad, you're swatching these, and it looks very aesthetically pleasing. So imagine like filming videos where you're just like writing with this. It kind of reminds me of like a Harry Potter one for some reason. So yeah, it's really pretty. Highly recommend getting one for your collection. So that is the end of this video. As usual, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you picked up some favorites for your stash. Let me know which one was your favorite. And last but not least, make sure to check out Job's video on the same topic as well. I'm pretty sure we have some overlaps. I have a theory that, yeah, I feel like we're the same person. So thank you so much to Job for collaborating with me on this video. If you haven't checked out yet, we actually did a collab last year. Can't believe it's been a year. We did a journaling routine video. I did the morning one and he did the evening one, so I'll link everything down below as well. Make sure to also check Job's Patreon. He recently launched his Patreon, and I'm also a patron, proud patron of his Patreon. Wow, that's so much patron in one sentence. And also more details and fun stuff over on my Patreon art club this month. So it's fountain pen day as I'm uploading this, so actually I am sharing a fountain pen swatch PDF for all my patrons this month, where I swatched all of the inks I owned for the past years. I scanned everything and I'm editing them for digital download purposes. So if you want to access that, make sure to head on to our Patreon. And did I mention that we have a very fun Discord group? So if you need questions on fountain pens, journaling, planning, and you need some advice, some of our members can actually help you with that. And we also regularly share our insights, our stationery hauls, and it's pretty much a creative community where you can connect and meet like-minded people. So I do hope to see you there or here in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching again. I'll see you guys on the next video, and always be creating. Bye!